Hello, this is Bailey Leasure, and this is the Leisure Sports Podcast. I'm going to be just kick off the podcast recapping the Week 3 NFL predictions. Overall, this week in the NFL, we probably saw some of the best football we've seen in a while. But unfortunately, it seems like the football action kind of got overshadowed by the anthem protest in the wake of Donald Trump's comments about player protests, which I'm not going to dive whole into. As I've stated before, I don't really put politics into my podcast. But it kind of overshadowed the games. We saw a lot of great games, saw a lot of great upsets, a lot of surprise performances from certain quarterbacks. I'm going to kick it off with probably the game, what many people thought were going to be the worst game of the week, considering it was on a Thursday night football matchup. We saw probably one of the best Thursday night football games in recent history as the Rams and the 49ers had a back and forth game. The Rams were able to take that game 41-39. Really a great performance by Jared Goff, and the Rams could be one of the surprise teams this year. It looks like Jared Goff shrugged off kind of his rookie year. Todd Gurley's looking good and is having a bounce back year. Sammy Watkins, if he can stay healthy, they could have, one of the best quarterback, running back, receiver trios in the NFL. And it's just the Rams look very good. That defense looks good as well. Didn't look good against the Niners, but also the Niners, despite being 0-3, I think they look very good. I think they got a bright future ahead of them. Moving on to the London game, this was probably one of the surprises of this week. Jaguars have played in London before, and I think the Ravens haven't. So they really, Jaguars just blew them out. Blake Bortles looked very impressive, and the Jaguars could be the team I thought they were going to be last season. They one of the surprise teams of the year, and sure enough, defense looks good. Blake Bortles is kind of starting to shed a little bit of the criticism that a lot of people had during the preseason, and I think he's going to be a great. Jaguars could surprise. I think there's some competition in that division with Houston and Tennessee, but they who knows? I think overall they could contend in that division if they continue to play football like this. So moving on, Eagles playing a bad Giants team, and the Eagles were just able to squeak past thanks to a 61-yard field goal at the end of regulation. But Eagles look impressive, and they can contend in the NFC East. I think that division's a lot more competitive, but I think with this loss, the Giants. I think personally, I know it's premature. It's only 3 weeks into the season, but starting off 0-3, I don't think any team has. Your chances of making the postseason are less than 1%, so it's not looking good for them. Broncos, Bills. Bills looked impressive. Broncos had I think that big play in the game where Von Miller sacked Tyrod Taylor. Went to get him up. He pulled his hand away. They called unsportsmanlike conduct. The Bills were able to keep the ball. I think they kicked the field goal, went up 2 possessions, and were able to hold on for the victory. But I think the Broncos, Bills look decent. We'll see what happens. Steelers Bears. This is one of the surprise games of the week. The Chicago Bears were able to win on a touchdown in overtime. Probably one of the gonna go down as probably one of the worst plays so far this year, if not the worst. Was the blocked field goal at the end of regulation, and I think his name was Cooper, returned it. He stopped within the last 5 yards. He got stripped by a Steelers player, lost the ball. They had to settle for a field goal. Just come on, man. Finish it. Do not Deshaun Jackson those kind of plays. So, just not really great. Falcons Lions, this was a pretty good game. Detroit lost on that heartbreaking play, that touchdown that got reversed from Golden Tate and caused a 10-second runoff and ended the game. Atlanta looks pretty impressive, but they just squeaked by with the victory. But Detroit's a good team, and I think they'll still compete. Texans Patriots, this was a really great game. Tom Brady having another clutch moment, but Deshaun Watson looked very good against the Patriots. But that last second, within the last seconds of the game or last 30 seconds, the touchdown to Brandon Cooks. Just Tom Brady's one of the best, and he showed it in this game. Vikings without Sam Bradford again, but Case Keenum threw a couple touchdowns over 300 yards and looked very good against a really good, a decent Buccaneers team, and they were able to win that game 34-17. The Colts without Andrew Luck, once again, it looks like they're going to be out without him for a little bit while. Was able to win that game 31-28. Dolphins Jets. I don't think anybody expected the Jets to. I don't think anybody expected the Jets to get a victory before the New York Giants, but sure enough, they did. They won 20-6. So that was a surprise. Saints. Drew Brees had a really great performance. Beat the Panthers 31-13. My upset of the week was going to be Titans versus Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks were up in that game, but I think the Titans scored like somewhere between 14 and 20 points, and we're able to win that game 33-27. Seahawks not off to kind of a, I know it's early in the season, the NFC West division seems very weak, but not off to a great start, and it's just not great for them. They have higher expectations, but we'll see what happens there. Bengals looked very good on offense, but Aaron Rodgers was able to come back at the end within the last minute in regulation to tie it up. They were able to get that big play in overtime. Aaron Rodgers committed. Aaron Rodgers before this game, I think, had 6 losses in overtime, including the playoffs, but he was able to overcome that. Got them in field goal position, and they won the game. So it was a big victory for the Packers. Chiefs, Chargers. Chiefs continue. Chiefs are one of the only 2 teams in the NFL right now that are still undefeated, along with the Atlanta Falcons. And Chargers off to not a great start in LA. Lost that game 24-10. Raiders and Redskins. Man, the Redskins defense just against a really good Raiders offense just dominated them 27-10. It was just Kirk Cousins just went off, had a great game. And, once again, NFC East is very competitive. I think it's, as of right now, officially, it's a 3-team race between them, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. So that segues great into my last game. Cowboys were able to win on Monday Night Football over the Cardinals 28-17. Just the Cardinals, this is a game that I don't blame Carson Palmer for losing. He wasn't, the only upside for the Cardinals in this game was Carson didn't commit a turnover, and poor Larry Fitzgerald, he had a big game. It's just, it really saddens me that this team, is what it is right now, knowing that they have the talent around them, they have the coaching, they have everything to be good, but they just, in these first 3 games, just have not looked good, being one. I'm really surprised they're not 0-3. The Cardinals, they did not do a good job in this game. They had no run game. They really missed David Johnson. They just could not protect Carson Palmer. I think he got sacked like 7 times. That Timmons guy had 3 sacks, so they did not do a good job defending. Jermaine Gresham didn't look good. Bad coaching on defense and time management towards the end of the game. That stupid challenge they made, and just they were unable to contain Dak Prescott. And that special teams, which has been the problem for the last 2 years with the Arizona Cardinals, has not been great for them. And just Phil Dawson missed that kick. They would have went up 10-0. And that would have been, and when they missed that field goal, that was a huge momentum swing in the game. So, they would have been up 10 points. They probably, they would have been up by 2 possessions early in the game. They could have rid with that for the rest of the game. And they just missed field goals again. I don't know what it's going to take to improve this kicking game. The punting game looks like it's improved, but also they need to improve the kick return and the punt return as well. So the Cardinals need something, and I don't know how they're going to get it, So we'll see what happens this next week for them, but just not a lot of great expectations. And you know what? I think when it comes to midseason and the trade deadline, if the Cardinals are out of a postseason position, I hate to say it, but I think the Cardinals need to trade Larry Fitzgerald. Trade him, get a couple draft picks, and give him an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. Because that guy, I know the guy's very loyal, but this guy is one of the classiest players in the NFL, and that guy, out of any player in the NFL right now that does not have a ring, he deserves a ring. I think the only other player other than him that deserves a ring right now is Jason Witten from the Dallas Cowboys. So just what both those players do on and off the field, and how great of players they are, and that they're Hall of Fame players, they deserve rings. But Jason Witten's got a better chance of winning a ring right now with that Cowboys team. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to there was a couple big NBA moves over this past week. Carmelo Anthony, who had been rumored to be traded by the New York Knicks, was finally traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. He will join Russell Westbrook and Paul George to that big three. We'll see if they can compete with some of the other teams in the West, like the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. We'll see what happens there. Dwayne Wade had been rumored for a while. Would he opt out with the Bulls? And he sure did. And he signed a couple $1 million deal to join his former teammate in Miami, LeBron James, in Cleveland. So that that team, I think this could be probably the last opportunity for Cleveland to win a championship, knowing that this could very well be LeBron James' last year in the city of Cleveland, as it looks like he could be going out to one of those LA teams. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to Major League Baseball news. Today, as I'm recording this, the Chicago Cubs clinched the NL Central. The Rockies' magic number to clinch a wild card spot is two games. The Dodgers not only clinched the National League West finally after it looked like they should have clinched it a few weeks prior, but unfortunately they went on that 11-game losing streak. Also, the Diamondbacks clinched the home field advantage in the wild card game, and then a huge comeback victory. They were down 3-1 in the ninth inning. They were able to get JD Martinez kicked it off with a home run. They were able to tie the game on a bases-loaded fielder's choice. And they won on a walk-off walk. So they started the season with a walk-off against the Giants, and they end their home regular season schedule with a walk-off against the Giants. So very good ending. So we'll see if they can ride that momentum into the postseason. I think the National League is very, very spread out. I think with the American League, I think it's mostly two definite favorites in the American League with the Houston Astros and the Cleveland Indians. I think that's going to be the American League Championship Series. While the National League, I think it could be anybody. I think it could be the Dodgers. It could be, maybe the Cubs get hot. Maybe it's the Nationals will get Bryce. They're going to be getting Bryce Harper back. Maybe it's the Diamondbacks. If they face the Dodgers, the last 6 games they're 6-0 against them, and they won the season series. They're not afraid of the Dodgers. It seems like, So we'll see what happens there. I just, if JD Martinez and Paul Goldschmidt, we'll see what happens there. So, postseason. Next week I'll do a prediction video for the wild card games and everything like that. So, but there's still the second wild card team to figure it out. It looks like it's probably gonna be the Rockies, and then the wild card games between in the American League. So most of the divisions are pretty much wrapped up right now. So moving on now to end the podcast, my NFL Week 4 predictions. So we got a lot of decent games. First Thursday night football game between the Packers and the Bears. I'm going to take the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to be at Lambeau Field. So Saints Dolphins. I always laugh at this game because anytime Drew Brees faces the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins are reminded that they could have had him in 2006. So I'm going to take New Orleans. They had a really great victory over the previously undefeated Panthers. So Bengals, Browns, both teams looking for their first win of the year. I'm going to take the Bengals. I think they looked very decent. Andy Dalton looked better. They finally scored a touchdown in their third game. So we'll see what happens there. Panthers, Patriots, I think it's going to be a great game, but I think the Panthers, without Greg Olsen, who's a vital point, who's Cam Newton's favorite target, it seems like. We'll see what happens there, but I'm going to take the Patriots. Rams, Cowboys, this is going to be one of the interesting games. I didn't think it was going to be this interesting in this early in the season, but you know what? I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to take that as an upset. Steelers, Ravens, both teams coming off disappointing losses. I really think Ben Roethlisberger is starting to show his age a little bit, and he needs to step up. You have the pieces to make it the Super Bowl and be a better team. And 2-1's not bad, but we'll see what happens there. But you know what? I like the Ravens defense. I think they'll have a bounce back game. I'll take Baltimore. Titans, Texas. This is going to be an interesting AFC North matchup. It's going to be a really great quarterback matchup between Marcus Mariota and Deshaun Watson. I'll take experience in this. I'll take Mariota just by a hair. Lions, Vikings, Case Keenum. I think Matthew Stafford's going to bounce back and bring the Lions over to victory. I think it's going to be a close game, but this time I think he'll take them to a victory. Jaguars versus Jets. I think the Jaguars will ride that momentum that they had last week against the Ravens, and they'll beat the Jets. Bills Falcons. I think the Falcons will stay undefeated, and they will beat the Bills. Eagles Chargers. I think the Eagles, Carson Wentz is going to have a big game. Giants Bucks. I think the Buccaneers, they'll bounce back from the loss against the Vikings, and I think the Giants will go 0-4. Raiders Broncos. It's going to be an interesting AFC West matchup, but I'm going to take the Raiders. I think they'll have a bounce back offensive performance. This will be a great quarterback matchup between him and Simeon, so we'll see what happens there. 49ers Cardinals. I was very tempted to pick the Cardinals, but I think the Cardinals just have a little more pieces on offense. 49ers have a decent defense, but I think the Cardinals, I think they'll bounce back. Colts Seahawks, they're probably going to be out without Andrew Luck, so I have to take Seattle. And then Redskins Chiefs. This is going to be an interesting game, between two. Alex Smith's had a really good season so far, but I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the Chiefs. As of right now, through my week 3, through all my predictions, I am 30-17. I went 9-7 last week. So overall, doing very well in my predictions, my week-to-week predictions so far this season. So that's a good thing. And that's pretty much it for my podcast this week. Thanks everybody for watching. Follow me on Twitter at BaileyLeasure96. Like I've stated before on previous podcasts, I'm on another podcast on the Guns N' Roses Central channel. We did a podcast this past Sunday, so check if you want to watch it. Check the link in the description below. We're going to have another really big podcast. I'm not going to say who's going to be on it, but it's a really big podcast. Probably going to be our biggest podcast of the podcast we've done. So, like I said before, follow me on Twitter at BaileyLeasure96. If you like the video, click like. If you like the video, subscribe if you like the content on my channel, and subscribe and comment if you agree or disagree with my views. What do you think about the postseason picture? What do you think about my predictions this week? Who do you think will win this upcoming weekend in the NFL? So I'd love the feedback and love the comments. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.